Actually, all the systems of body are living cells. And to live, they need to receive nutrients, glucose, protein, fat, and that needs to be fired with oxygen to produce the fire of life to then make them to live. But many of these other organs of the body, lungs, liver, heart, muscles, intestines, they all depend. Thank you. We're back again, Brain and you. This time around, we're discussing memory, different aspects of memory. We talked about a few before. Now we go to another one now. Whether your brain is working for you now, establishing memory for you, or against you, forgetting things, throwing things out of your mind. So your brain is either building memory now, or is breaking things down. What you did this morning already made a choice for you. Your brain is either building or breaking itself down. What you did this morning already made that choice for you. And that has to do with several aspects, but in this specific one, we want to talk about some of the things you can do to aid the function of your brain. Again, quickly, we said the memory, the recollection of past events is something that gets done with the memory, with the brain, through the brain. Obviously then, the more functional we make our brain, the better our memory will be, and the better our memory, the more excellent we'll be at our tasks, the sharper, the smarter we will come. So, one way a question has been raised along this line to say, what are things that a person can do to help his brain? And in more specific way again, what are foods? What kind of nutrients? What kind of ingredients do you supply to yourself to make your brain work well? Again, this is another simple topic, but so complex. If people want, and that again, people will be disappointed here. I'm sure many people who are listening to this will be waiting for me to say there's a particular kind of magic seed somewhere that if you eat more and more of that, your brain will be sharper than that. Well, I don't need to waste your time. You've been told this many times over and over and over, generation in, generation out. Each new generation, each new society, each new group of people, which will come around and tell you if you do this, if you do this. In fact, it goes as far as some of these artists, especially the performing artists, going as far as saying there's a particular substance, if they take it, they get sharper. But we know that usually, even if it looks indeed that thing does help them to achieve a certain level of memory performance that is beyond average, but that line also causes some, other damage that is well known. Other people told that part in life, down the line, get to pay a heavy repercussion for it. But in the simple terms, what makes it simple to say actually is there's nothing magical about the brain food, the three brain foods, food that will make your brain to perform better. To recap, to say, first of all, the subject of brain health is actually a big topic now in World Health Organization setup. It is now known. Well, it ought to have been known. I'm sure it was known before, but wasn't talked about. They didn't make noise about it. As they say in the current era, the contemporary world where you say make some noise. Well, they want to make some noise now about brain health. To say brain health is possibly the most precious human capacity that needs all the effort that can be channeled towards it to make it function well. Because if the brain functions well, the human capacity to achieve, gets better. Is able to fend for himself. Is able to improve his society. Is able to improve, makes the world better, live healthy. So brain health. So in that sense, there are so many things that go into the making of quote unquote a good brain. Quote unquote a good brain. Of course, there's no bad brain, but just for the sake of distortion. So therefore, a good brain, it goes from before you were born, from your parents. A man's capacity to do and undo some things in life, we all know in many areas of life have something to do with what genes he has inherited, from which stock of people has he come. Some come from particular line of people who seem to be averagely smart, even at their worst performance. whereas some other people don't seem to be smart, at least in one particular area of life, in a particular area of human endeavor. They may be smart in their own other areas of life. So a human genetic constitution is a big deal. But that's a topic for another time, I guess. Okay, but when a person is in the womb, okay, the state of health of the mother goes a long way to affect what all the parts of the body that's formed, not now talk of brain itself proper. Again, let's also drop that now and say that, but when a man is now out of the womb and is now growing and he wants to try and get something that, let's just say that brain does not stand alone. A man is not just brain. A man is heart, lung, kidneys, intestines, bones, ligaments, and other things, and nerves. And that actually, in a way of speaking, the brain needs actually all the other parts of the body functioning well for it to function. It's as you said in the Bible somewhere, that the eye cannot say, because I'm not the leg, I will not do my job again. So, or the leg will say, because they don't paint me as well as they paint the face, I will stop working. And so if it doesn't work, they won't get to where they find money. They won't find money to not only to not paint the face, but also to eat food that will make the leg to also have strength. So I like to take that into another direction. Actually, the brain is the one for which, if you like, and just to simplify a matter, all the rest of the body is working. The brain is a part of that body, of the body, for which all the other parts of the body. The brain food, the one main brain food, for instance, is oxygen, pure oxygen, fresh air, good oxygen. The brain depends heavily on oxygen. The next is glucose, carbohydrate. In the body of food, the main body of food, the three main body of foods, the three main bodies of food are carbohydrate, protein, fat. Where the brain depends more on carbohydrate, the one that produces glucose, and has to be pure, unprocessed, natural glucose, because there are natural sources of glucose too. It is that one that the brain depends on. Actually, all the systems of body are living cells, and to live, they need to receive nutrients, glucose, protein, fat, and that needs to be fired with oxygen to produce the fire of life to then make them to live. But many of these other organs of the body, lungs, liver, heart, muscles, intestines, they all depend on glucose by choice. But if something happens that they don't have enough glucose, they can switch to depend on other forms of energy sources. That, like fat, the fat can be turned to energy source. Protein, most people know protein as the thing that helps you to build your body and all that. They don't know. Actually, it can also be turned to energy. If the body lacks glucose, it can turn protein to energy so it can perform its function. Brain is one that will most preferentially do with only glucose and nothing else, except when it is in dire strait. Glucose, the brain needs it. Also, the rest of the body also, all parts of the body needs oxygen, as I said that earlier too. And so the rest of the body will also work on oxygen to perform their living activities and all that. But if they lack oxygen, by which we mean they will not be able to do what we call aerobic respiration. If they have to, they actually can switch to non-use of oxygen, or use the one that does lack of oxygen, the state of lack of oxygen, and they can still function in what we call anaerobic respiration. They can still play around with lack of oxygen and still carry out function. Again, brain is you have to give it oxygen. By the time it gets pushed to use what is not oxygen, where things are not healthy any longer, but so brain needs food, needs good food, good sources of carbohydrates, pure ones, and also needs oxygen. So, and how to get oxygen to your body? You need good lungs. You need good lungs. It's your lung that draws in the air from the atmosphere and removes the oxygen from it and sends it into the bloodstream, and the bloodstream takes the oxygen to all the parts of the body, and especially the brain. In fact, the brain is about 2% of the weight of the body, but it takes 1/5 of all the blood supply of the body, 20% of the blood supply of the body. It must take its oxygen. It must just get its oxygen. Everything gets preferentially directed towards brain so that it can keep functioning at its optimum. And so the nutrients have to come in right sizes, right forms, not processed, preferably. So you need carbohydrate. After that, you also now need some supporting small chemicals, vitamins, we call them micronutrients, small bits of things, if you like. They all need to come in proportion. And so it goes to then say that for a man's brain to function well, he needs a good functioning lung that will bring him oxygen. In some of the food we eat, if not most of the food, they come with some toxins. Everything we put in our mouth has some toxins, some things that don't go well with the whole of the body system. But by the time it goes into the intestine and it goes into the liver clears some of those toxins.